Welcome to the Blam Podcast.
There's something in the water washing over me. It's making me remember just how it used to be. There's something in the way it moves along the sun-kissed shore that makes me fall in love again with all that I adore. There's something in the water running through my soul. It makes me feel a putting honey in my tea and sugar in my bowl. There's something in the way it sings, the magic in the air. Love and life go hand in hand, they are a perfect pair. I'll keep my head above the water, but when it gets the best of me, I hold on to you, my brother. We'll sail away on the endless sea, sail away on the endless sea. Yeah, there's something in the water, I can feel it in my heart. I don't know which way to go, it's tearing me apart. There's something in the way it flows that never stays the same. It brings me joy and it gives me life, and it helps me play the game.
Welcome to the podcast, Chris.
Thank you for having me, Sandy.
It's great to have you, and thank you for taking this time out. And it's, we're going to just kick in. Tell us about the song that we've just heard just now.
Yeah, sure. So I wrote an EP last year, the end of 2019, called Something in the Water. And that was the title track, Something in the Water. I wanted to try and focus my creativity on an EP. I'd thought about doing an album, like a bigger project, but there's a lot of constraints when you want to do an album, mainly money, because there's so many more tracks. So I thought, well, if we can try and focus it into 4 or 5 songs. And yeah, I just decided quite early on that I was going to do it myself, mostly myself, in my studio that I've been building up. And from there, it was about a 3-month process, which is quite long. A lot of people, they tend to write the songs, they rehearse them as a band, they go in, they record them over a few days. You're only in the studio 2 or 3 days, maybe 4, and then that's it, you're done. Whereas because I was doing most of it myself, it was a blessing and a curse because I could spend a lot of time.
Was this your first EP? Or?
So I did an EP back in 2016, but it was only it was just 3 tracks, and it was that was the first time I'd ever done anything like that. It was called So Long. I recorded it down at Clearwater Studios on Shore Road with Dave McFarlane, and it was just me and him in the studio for 3 days, and I just recorded everything myself, just layering everything up basically. So when it came to do this EP, I decided to do most of that again. However, I would utilize the talents of some local musicians to help out, because there are some people there's people that are always better than you at certain things. So I utilized a bass player, a drummer, but still recorded it at home to try and save on the cost.
You seem far too young to have all these range of talents and experiences. Oh my goodness, you're the guy I hate. Where did that come from? Where did this music love or this?
Yeah, I've thought about that a few times, because my parents weren't musical at all.
Really?
No, and they weren't really. They were into music, but very much whatever was big at the time, which for them
Sort of
was
pop culture type of thing.
Yeah,
okay.
so which there's nothing wrong
Nothing
with,
wrong,
of course.
yeah.
I definitely get my love of ABBA from my mum, amongst other things. So the musical influence wasn't there. The playing of musical instruments wasn't there either. It was actually probably my sister who started. My sister's 2 years older than me, and she picked up the clarinet when she went into high school. My primary school didn't do music. Wow. You couldn't pick up an instrument basically. But she picked up the clarinet, and then she picked up the bass guitar. So here we had two instruments, one classical, one contemporary, where I did start to get shown other types of music from the stuff that she might be learning and getting into, and especially with playing the bass as well. And apart from that, the thing I've been playing the longest is actually the drums. I picked that up. I got lessons when I was 5.
Right. Wow.
That was my first introduction into, here's a musical instrument. If you chip away at this thing, you can learn it and you can master it, and you can eventually speak with it.
Yeah.
That will take a long time, especially, and trying to get that into the mind of a 5-year-old was quite different. But it was I got taught by a guy who was a friend of my mum's. He was a drummer, and they were quite a big wedding band in Perth called Solid Gold.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And he used to teach me in the plough-in. It's no longer there. It's flats now, up on near Jeanfield Road. Yeah.
That strange pub.
Yeah. And here's 5-year-old Chris going in there when there's no one around, and like he would set the drum kit up in the middle of the room and just kind of let me go for it. And then I got more formal lessons from Maurice McPherson at what was RWJ Drum Store, from about the age of 7 or 8, and it was properly structured lessons with things to take home and stuff, and that was my first foray into disciplined learning. Before that, it had just been that I'm interested in this sounds interesting, but rather than just bashing things about.
And you then went on to college? Did music in college, or what was?
Yeah, so I mean, I didn't actually pick up an instrument that you could make a melody with until I got into high school. Even when I went to high school, when I was like 12, 13, I was still playing the drums, and that's when I started joining bands. I was just a drummer. But the first instrument was trombone. I know that was the first one.
I suppose you had clarinet in there from your sister.
Yeah, so my sister had been going to playing in orchestras, like the local kind of school orchestras, and was getting me interested in that. And then in my first year, my sister said, "You should, whatever you do, pick an orchestral instrument, because it will give you a good start in the school, because you're going to be surrounded by like-minded new people. You're going to meet people that you maybe didn't necessarily think you were ever going to make friends with, which it's a crucial time." And so I wanted to play the trumpet, because I just thought that was the cooler of the instruments. I'd been getting into my last year in primary 7. I'd been getting really into jazz, because of the drums. I'd started to study jazz drummers, and so I got there into big band. So to me, like, the trumpet was just the coolest thing.
Any musical heroes in there?
So I mean, with the drums, it was definitely Buddy Rich, and an offshoot kind of Gene Krupa. They're the kind of the two godfathers of jazz drumming. They were the biggest influence. And then into trumpet, I didn't really have any heroes when I was that age. It was all so new. It was
a new world you were learning. I mean,
correct.
Could have been anything. Could have been elephants.
Exactly. For all I care. Well, that was the thing when I signed up for trumpet, and I got the meeting with the brass teacher, and he said, "We have enough trumpet players." trumpet and saxophone are the two that everybody wants to play. We have too many trumpet players. Here, take this. And I held the trombone like the wrong way up. Yeah. I held it going, I don't know what this thing is, but I'll give it a go. And so from there, that then developed into this tandem of finding a real love for the trombone in a jazz setting, because I'm already listening to jazz, and I'm like, oh, that's a trombone that I'm hearing, whilst also getting the discipline of learning orchestral and brass as well. But I was in the brass band. So all of this is kind of going on simultaneously, where I'm learning music theory, contemporary music theory, I'm learning about jazz, I'm learning about orchestral, classical. And at that time, I started to teach myself the guitar. Right. This is the first instrument that I taught myself, because I think I'm quite lucky that I grew up. You can say I'm lucky, actually. I grew up before computers and social media. Mm-hmm. My formative years, from age 0 to 12. Yeah. The PC, the home computer, was something that not many people had.
It's a space we've lost in our lives of boredom, of not being stimulated and having to seek a space. I mean, I learned guitar purely because I was a student here in university and I couldn't afford to go home. So 12 weeks of in summer I was left in a flat in Dundee, not speaking to anyone, and it did my head in. And I remember going into Argos and buying this £30 guitar. Yeah. Going into a library at that time and getting a Beatles book because I knew songs. I didn't know how complex they were, but at least I knew most of the tunes. And that's what I did. Love the guitar. It was a very sort of intimate sort of world, like a Narnia world into some space that and I just sometimes worry that now you don't get that, because people are. It's noise, it's sure, and it's also finished products. You're only hearing songs all done, or sure. I was thinking about TikTok videos, 3 seconds, 4 seconds, of music.
There's a world I've not explored yet,
and I was like, that's not music. You need a 9-minute Pink Floyd song.
Yeah. You need a statement. You need a journey. Yeah. But I think that I came from a world where by the time I was wanting to teach myself the guitar, things like YouTube were very much in their infancy, but it was gathering traction. This is probably
MySpace would have been in there.
Yes, definitely. That was huge for music,
MySpace, just I think,
for sharing.
Yeah, I don't think we appreciate how powerful MySpace was in a sort of game changer.
Definitely, allowing independent and the unknowns to really have a platform. So for me, I then went about. We had a little spare room in our house, because I actually do find it a crucial point in my life. We moved I grew up in Friarton initially, up where the old, it's not a prison anymore. They kind of changed it to houses, but it used to be a prison. So my back garden was a little fence, and then this 12 foot high,
20 foot high,
huge fence. That was my back garden, and it was parallel with the football pitch that they used to play. So I used to get balls kicked over.
Now you'd get drones.
Now it's
dropping things.
Don't touch that. And so I grew up there, surrounded by all my friends, and then not long after going to high school, we moved out to Hunting Tower Field. Okay. Totally other end, out of Perth, not on the outskirts, out of Perth now. Not far, obviously, but for walking, it wasn't as viable. That removal of, from a social standpoint, I think there was only 2 other people in the whole few group of houses that were anywhere close to my age. Made me. That's, I think, one of the reasons why I wanted to learn the guitar, teach myself something. So I had lessons. I was going into school and learning the trombone, and then I was maybe after school would go and get a drum lesson. But then coming back, I'm then on my own. So let's try and turn that into teaching myself something. And like I say, things like YouTube were just starting to come up, where people are posting, this is how you play this song. And that's how I started. My first song was House of the Rising Sun. and then Wish You Were Here. Those were the two that I really wanted to learn.
I think they were in my list.
Yeah. Fantastic riffs,
Yeah.
memorable, very. I mean, House Rising Sun is deceivingly difficult, actually, but
Your E minor, C, and
yes,
you're just
and then there's
dropping up and down.
and there's this F where you have to push two strings at once with one finger, and I'm like, no, I can't do that. So before I know it, I'm kind of maybe about halfway through high school, and I can play the drums, I can play the guitar a bit. You know, my sister has a bass and before I knew it, I'm like, oh, I can kind of, I can write stuff here and record ideas, like very basic, and actually like think of this from a band perspective rather than just me on my own with a guitar. So those formative years really kind of set the.
When did you realize music was going to be a thing? You know, like
I think it wasn't long after I went to high school, because I was an okay student up to a point in high school where I was getting good grades and stuff up until maybe about fourth year, because in fourth year, I can't remember how old you are in fourth year. You're about 15, 16. Enormous pressure is put on the person. You need to figure out what you're doing. You need to then reverse engineer that and say, I need to study these subjects, and therefore I need to get these grades in these subjects to be able to.
Yeah, I mean, I share with people, it's like at that sort of age where you're taken to the Himalayas, like in Nepal, and 1,000 mountains are shown in front of you, and you say, pick one. And you know,
yeah.
What?
How? Yeah.
How? What? I can. And there's only two mountains you look at: the tallest one and the smallest one.
And the smallest one. Yeah.
And we forget that every mountain has value. You know, it's your value.
Yeah.
But I don't think we frame that right.
No.
With kids to be able to, that little transition space.
Definitely.
It's like, oh, you're this age now. You have responsibility. Get on, make some decisions.
Yeah, and this is going to be your career. And I'm thinking, I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
I don't know what devoting my life to something means when you're 16. When you're 6, obviously everybody has a different. They have their own path, and some people are very lucky that they do figure it out, or at least maybe they don't figure it out, but they know
structure to it.
Yeah, if I get good grades in these general subjects, that will put me in a very good position for being able to kind of have my pick of what I want to do. So by the time I'm 18, 19, I've maybe got a better idea. But that just didn't stick with me. And all this time, I'm playing more and more with my high school band, and we're going out and doing, I mean, it was few and far between, but more and more gigs in places like Dundee and occasionally Edinburgh. So I'm doing this on the side, and it's having the reverse effect.
Explain this gig culture. Like, how do you get a gig? Where do you? I mean, is it pubs? Is it?
I have you could have a variety of different ways of doing it, but my way into it was our guitarist, Sam. His dad was a musician, and his dad was in a band, and they played. They were all in they're at the time they're early 40s, and they would play pubs in Dundee. So we, even though we were maybe only kind of 15, 16, the pubs we were playing were, if they come in, we'll let them play a few songs, as long as they don't drink, obviously.
And
but
you're cheap.
Yeah, exactly. They weren't paying us, and it was like we could support them, and so it was giving us the experience of playing, because not a lot of gigs for a lot of working musicians, a lot of gigs aren't on a stage with a sound engineer and monitors and a backstage. A lot of them can be pubs, and they can be quite hostile because of things like alcohol, and depending where the pub is, what town, all of these factors that I was getting shown from a young age. There's
a couple of things that maybe I want to touch on. One is, we'll come to about COVID. With everything shutting down, we have a real problem because how are musicians or anyone going to be able to perform earn their living, get to know this culture. So
Sure.
that's one end. The other end is what is this? What makes a musician? I think nowadays because we see sort of YouTube, etc., and you see all these sort of highly polished, finished products. You and I have talked about this before, but you don't get development. You don't get, pulp. Jarvis Cocker talking about where overnight success. It only took us 13 years.
Yeah, sure.
You don't get that space of people learning and having those experiences, and then musicians happening. Now it's all instant. So what's an ideal scenario, do you think? And because I think on one hand you think, oh no, I wish it was easier, but actually maybe it doesn't need to be easier. Maybe it has to be graft. And
I think that the problem is that it's such a small percentage of the people that quote unquote make it that are getting heavy radio play and the millions and millions of views on YouTube. They truly are a tiny portion of the music industry and the artists and the output and the output of those artists. And some of them have got to that stage through luck, just genuine luck. The right person has saw them at the right time of their career. Some have got there through competition, look at One Direction, famously.
I mean, I suppose these are industry coming up with formulas to create these mechanisms, these sort of vehicles of success.
I mean, that's been going on since, the Monkees. People auditioned.
New. Absolutely.
No, and the Kinks, famously, from a songwriting standpoint, they had a formula of, this is how we want to write a song. We're not going to do the Beatles thing where we kind of dip and dive and change. We know how we want to write a pop song, and we're going to stick to that because we know it sells. It's a Motown thing as well. But for a musician like me or an artist like me, I hate using. I don't like using the word artist.
You're an artist.
I know, I'm an artist. But I think the graft means something. Because failure, I think, is a necessity for teaching you so much, not just about what it means to then be appreciative of when you do find success, but it really strengthens how you deal with people, how you promote yourself as a person, not just as a brand or as an artist or as a musician, but just as a person. How do you outwardly convey, these are my values,
Where do you get your satisfaction from then? Like, what is it that you want out of your music?
For me, it's the musicianship. I found that when I was writing my last EP there, Something in the Water, I specifically wrote parts of the song because in my head I knew who was going to be playing with me live, to a point. And I loved the idea of, I want to throw in a challenge here, because if we all practice this, if we all rehearse this quite complicated thing, if we pull it off, it's going to be so gratifying.
I love that. There's a little story I heard, and it was about Brian Eno and David Bowie. When he was having a dry spell, he used to have these cards. Apparently, they were like random cards, things they had to just do. They picked it up, and they were in Berlin recording, and it could be at random. You've got to run around the block or buy dinner for everyone, or it could be if they're in studio. They'll be like, okay, you've got to now today play drums, and so apparently, so they recorded, and this one was essentially everyone had to play an instrument that wasn't their instrument,
right?
And they were all sitting in the session studio, and so that's what they did, and started playing their riffs and etc. And the song "Heroes" came out of that session.
Wow!
And if you actually listen to it, all the music samples are very simple. It's non-players playing an uncomfortable instrument in a safe way.
Yeah.
But it brings something else to the space.
Yeah.
Which which sort of squirreled out of it.
Yeah.
Rather than just formula space.
Absolutely.
And it's lovely to hear you talk about that you're sort of seeing what people can do, but also then creating awkwardness there.
Absolutely, because if I know that the people that I'm on stage with are behind me, not obviously they're going to be behind me, but if they're with me and we're all in this boat together and we've all put in the work, when we do pull these things off, that's where the gratification comes from for me. It's not. I used to think it was about not quite admiration, but the response from the audience. I used to think that was the juice, that was the fuel that would make a musician run. Is I write a song and I play it to these people. They respond positively with that. They tell me how good I am, and I smile and pat myself on the back, and then I go away and write more songs. And that's what a lot of people do, and they do feed off of that, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I preferred the idea that we are here as a band, and we are going to perform these songs for you. And if you respond positively to that, so for instance, if we do pull off one of those little complicated bits that I wrote, if that gets a reaction from the crowd and they applaud the person that pulled the thing off, that to me is the confirmation. It's not, you're great, you're really good, we like, you're Chris Small, at the front, and there's just a band behind me. For me, it's more, it's the collective thing. I played in a band for most of 2019. I played in a band called Bohemian Monk Machine, a funk band from Perth, and I played trombone and sang backing vocals in that. And that band really pushed me creatively, really pushed me to come up with ideas and to almost have to try to get to their level, because they're all very talented.
Okay, so they pushed you as in their skillmanship.
I turned up to the rehearsal, and the rehearsal went really well, the first one. But I instantly kind of then got a taste of, right, this is the level that these guys are at, and I think I can get there. I just need to really work hard, because then when you've got 5 guys on stage that are all really playing their instruments and really going for it and putting a lot of energy into it, that creates this buzz and this energy, and it transfers to the audience. I always talk about, I visualize it as a ball of energy. So on stage, we are kind of putting bits into this ball, and it's starting to spin, and 2 or 3 songs go by, and we're really starting to get it spinning, and then it gets pushed into the crowd. It gets right, you have it. And if you're doing your job and you're doing it well, and people start to respond to that, they start adding to the ball. And so by the time you get to the end of the set, the whole room is in this complete void of everything else that's going on. That's what people talk about when they love going to see a band, because they're experiencing this moment that no one else is getting to experience apart from the people in that room on that night. And it was that was what I then wanted to try and emulate with my own music. It's not about Chris Small. It's not about come and see me and it's all about me. It's about come and see me with this group of musicians, and
see what we do.
And we're gonna start making this ball, and we're gonna pass that to you.
There's a phenomenon, synchronicity, I think, where they talk about when you hug someone. The minimum time you should hug someone is about four seconds.
4 seconds,
and that's a minimum, because your body sort of, there's electrical charges that come between us, but
not right now. Not right now, though.
You can't do anything now. COVID passes between us, and I think that's that is one of the most damaging elements of COVID, is this this lack of human physical contact, know, and it says if you hug someone for 20 seconds, your heart starts synchronizing.
Right.
You start, so it's exactly this rhythm that you have in raves and musical venues, because what happens is eventually you've created a link, literally a pulse for that room.
Yeah.
Which
That's
is what
exactly
people are
it.
connecting into. So everyone is feeling it.
Yeah.
Because quite literally their hearts have begun
Yeah.
to synchronize with each other.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
And that they go away from that place and that was, did you feel that?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think it's an unfortunate thing that so much about music and all that becomes, capitalized, meaning it's money, it's fame, it's all that. But actually there's some deep human responses and primal spaces that music allows us.
Definitely.
And so... And what happens when you don't feel that then? You're on stage, it's dying.
Yeah, so I'm lucky because I've had a few of those shows, especially with my own music, because that was the thing that I hadn't done for quite some time. I was always playing in other bands, and it was in 2016 when I said I'm going to record an EP. I'm not quite ready to kind of go out as Chris Small and like lead a band, but I want to at least put out into the world some original music,
Did you record and print CDs type of thing?
Yeah, did all of that. Yeah. So I actually I did a crowdfund. Both my EPs I've done crowdfunds for. The 2016 one, So Long, was the main cost was in the studio because we did it in a studio. Got 3 days in the studio, and then the cost of printing the CDs. But at that time, like I say, I didn't want to front my own group just quite yet. I mean, we're talking 4 years ago now, so I was like 21, 22. But upon deciding last year, I'm gonna quit the bands that I was playing in, which at the time was Red Pine Timber Company. Okay. I want to do my own thing. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, because I owed a lot to that band. I learned a lot of good practice both from the band and also using examples of maybe what not to do, how not to run a band, because there was a lot of us in the band. It was a big band, and we went all over Scotland, and you do have to treat it at those times like a business at times. So it was all learning, and that's for me overall it was a very positive experience, because no matter if it was a negative thing at the time, that can be turned into positive learning. So I finally got to the point where I said, I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to go out. I'm going to launch a trio. So we're going to go from a big band. I want just what's the smallest? 3. Okay, I'm going to sing and play guitar. There's going to be a bass and there's going to be a drummer. And here's some songs that I've got. And those first few gigs, that, like you say, when you're not getting that energy, luckily for me, because I was more interested in all like the band kind of lifting each other up and playing these quite complicated at times compositions, if the crowd wasn't feeling it, then we could. And you see that a lot with bands where they start, not that they play for themselves, but I guess that is kind of it actually. Red Pine taught me that it is important that you still put on a show, that you're still there, you're not just
performing.
Correct. You are a performer, and that you shouldn't do a Miles Davis and just like turn your back. And
Bob Dylan's the worst.
Yeah,
for that,
absolutely.
I mean,
my auntie is would every time he came to Scotland, she'd go and see him every time, and it just slowly just declined. And it was no fun to go and watch him, So that always taught me that it's always
genius, but
same with Van Morrison. Like Van Morrison could be notoriously grumpy, and you're just there because you understand his genius, but quite on the contrary to come and see a Chris Small show.
Well, it's a Scottish thing, I don't know why we undersell ourselves.
I don't know what it is.
I mean, people listening to this are going to listen to your music, and they'll make their own opinion of you.
Yes, well, I think that's a good point, because if you come and see a show, then that's an impression. If you never go and see them live, you just listen to a song, that's an impression. If you look at their social media and you don't go and see a show, or you don't listen to a song, that's an impression. What a pressure that there's all these avenues that you are constantly having to emit and put on. It is a facade to a point, almost like the performer kind of
As a character.
that has to continue,
Yeah.
even in times where you don't feel like that. You know, I can't imagine that when Mick Jagger used to come off the stage that he would be, you know, the same. I'm sure it was a different personality. He's not strutting about everywhere. He's not kind of being as, I mean, I've heard stories obviously, but like there's not this.
Well, Michael Jackson had this problem. I mean, you know, and that's why he was in Painkillers and all that, because
Sure.
he couldn't unwind. I mean, that space and I mean, he was doing it since he was 7. You know?
Yeah.
By the time
It's
you're
a very
50,
unique.
I mean, you're not a human anymore.
No.
You know, that's not a normal human
No.
experience. So,
Yeah.
And you've suddenly had 75,000 people in front of you.
Yeah.
And you're meant to go home and, I don't know, you know, like Elvis had that, you know, give me some burger and chips. It's like just,
Yep.
I need to humanize my space again.
Totally.
And it's something that musicians, I think people, I suppose even musicians maybe listening to this, are forget those spaces that they need to be ready for. You know, not just
Yeah.
here's my music, I'll put it out there. But
Yeah,
there's also
sure.
there's this other world that your personality and character may not handle. Yeah.
Well, I thought that when I decided to do this, like go out on my own as Chris Small, I was adamant that I was going to try and make that character or that performance as honest as possible. I used to put in going back to how do you get a gig, I used to send round to promoters and venues an EPK, an electronic press kit, and it would just have a little bio about me, some photos, links to the music,
An EPK.
an EPK, an electronic press kit.
Okay.
And it's just, I mean, it used to be a physical thing that people would mail off to people,
Yeah.
whereas now you just have a link now, and you
Is
just
that an email then? Or
yeah,
no,
so
it's-
yeah,
it's
so I did it on Dropbox. So
Okay.
I just had a Dropbox folder, and that had everything in it, everything Chris Small.
Okay.
So it had the album artwork, it had original copies of the music. So if you didn't stream it, you didn't have to go and stream it. Here was the song itself. Photos, a bio, past experiences, maybe other shows that I've played of note. And in my bio, I always used the phrase, I want to perform music with passion, honesty, and integrity. That to me was so more important than to be rock and roll and to be cool, because if I show to the world myself as being honest and passionate and have integrity, then I can do no wrong.
I agree. I mean, like, you know, part of these podcasts are these campfire spaces, and campfire spaces are, you know, where the traveler comes and the musicians are there, and what's there is what makes that event. You know, I think sometimes we think if it's only big and huge and you know, well known or that somehow only that has value. And yet, you know, like when we've opened Blend, it's something we've just never fully done. But you know, we've tried to have open mics, try to create music culture, because music should be part of people's lives, and live music, and you know, and it's hard in this because we've reduced it to streaming and reduced it to sort of, I'll take it how I want it when I want it. And I think maybe as a culture we've lost some of these other spaces of just randomly turning up somewhere and in a pub or wherever and or a coffee shop, and suddenly someone's playing. And that memory is far more important than a 10 million, you know, album sale.
Absolutely.
As good as that is.
Of course. I think that I realized quite quickly that persona, even that persona, which when you put honesty, integrity, passion, those 3 words, the connotations do then become optimistic and happy, and you're not always going to feel optimistic and happy when you're performing. You are, because my idea was, well, I consider myself an honest and passionate person, so I don't need to do this whole persona on stage and off. I can just be me. But
you got to keep up the
and I really, so when I'm seeing musicians on social media, and I'm thinking, oh God, I need to tell people about this show that I've got coming up, but for whatever reason that day I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling. I'm terrible at filming myself talking. If I need to like announce something, and I watch other people do it, and that's the other problem on social media. When you're watching 1,000 other people do it really well, and then you're sitting there going, "This is the 18th time I've tried to record this thing," and that's a pressure, and
it's an artist angst. I mean, here I am doing this podcast badly, and I'm listening to all these other podcast guys, and you do compare yourself to these faces, and I think that's part of maybe it's part of like why I wanted you on the show. It's because we're saying our world is filled with talented, very amazing people that have gifts that we can engage with. And we don't have to just dilute it into these formulas. Here's a big artist, and suddenly I'm listening to whatever. And as good as it's good music. It's not bad, but it's just we suddenly ignore what's on our doorstep. And I wish that we could do more with that. So if you had £1 million right now, where would you put it?
Because I had a good long think about this question, and I would want to show people that maybe don't have access to music tuition, that there is a world of instruments and music and cultures out there that are not accessible at first. They're not accessible at first because so much of music now is very electronic based. It's all done. I can't believe I was about to say it. It's all done from laptops, and that's because I do.
Oh, you become old.
I know, but I do that, and but it's very much electronic music, and less about the mastering of an instrument, and I don't think that we should push that on people because people need to make up their own mind. But the discipline that taught me when I was a kid, and the feeling of I'm starting to do this thing and I suck at it, but I keep going and then I'm good at it, was elation like I'd never felt. Like I didn't get that from anywhere, any other activity. Some people get it from sport, some people get it from acting. I mean, I did a bit of, I was in Perth Youth Theatre for a few years. I tried act. I really enjoyed acting and doing theatre, which kind of goes, it's not too much of a surprise. But some people get it from that, performing to people. But there's so many people that they grow up and they have this view of the world musically of here's your artists and this is what's presented to you every week in the top 40. This is what
you need to try and mimic.
This is what you need to mimic. This is the style, and that's been going on since early days, and it will continue to go on. But I think a problem, there's a correlation between the demographics in society, where if you can't afford to give your kid weekly lessons on a certain instrument, it's not that they're never going to pick up an instrument, but there's this crucial stage when they're younger that if I had £1 million and I was able to try and put something back, some kind of thing where if you are between this and this in terms of earning an income, and you are struggling, but your child you want to give your child the experience of learning the violin or learning the piano. And I don't hold it against my mum. She chose the drums. I wanted to bash things. I get it. I do wish I'd learned the piano when I was really young. we knew a piano teacher. We knew a piano teacher, but anyway,
it's true. We should just we had pianos here. It was really hard to keep it tuned because of the heat in this.
Yeah.
Room. But I actually wish we should actually just bring pianos back into everywhere. Just leave them in railway stations and leave them in streets and
totally.
just so that people can just do. I love that people are doing that.
Yeah.
And because suddenly all these little even it was lovely because even when we had the piano here. It was great. All these people are just self-taught. They weren't ready for a big performance, but didn't mind sort of 5 people hearing them.
Yeah, because as well, when you've got your back, and if you've got your back to it, and you can't see anybody else, it's as soon as you feel eyes on you, that's then some people then have that freeze moment. But if you're playing and you're in that moment, it's just you.
And that's why I think as much as I think music should be encouraged in all of us.
Of course,
because people say I'm not musical, but there is a music in us. You know, and
I agree.
And as parents and families and culture, we need to not think that it only has to be highly successful to be a musician. You're a musician or you're an artist because you want to say something or convey something. And I wish that would be maybe more encouraged. Let's play up pianos. That's what we'll do. Because there must be thousands of pianos that people just can't lift out of their living rooms right now.
There's so many, and it's like buyer to uplift,
and maybe we just
20 quid.
We just need an uplifting company. Just buy a van,
specifically do that,
and go and just collect all these pianos and
put them in
place, them in random places.
Absolutely. I think having the option there. I mean, when I went to high school, it was good that there was just a room where there would be a line of acoustic guitars and there'd be bass guitars and there'd be drum kits and people, when a lot of people, this is maybe when they're 11 years old, kind of this is their first experience of ever lifting up an instrument. And there's plenty, don't get me wrong, like I didn't do that. I didn't grow up with guitar. I didn't start playing guitar until later, and I play it now professionally. But to give somebody the option, we could fund you and let you take lessons in something for say a year. It's
gonna be more important now with COVID. So much of the live entertainment culture is gonna die in this next couple of years.
Well, I need to get a new job, so I need to retrain.
But you need to get your voice out in a different way, I suppose. It's not. So we've got to find. It's not. Because to me, it's so primal. It's something we don't give up on. It's not something we say, we can't. Pubs are shut, no more music. You're like, no, we need to have that. Music space.
Well, interestingly, when lockdown first happened, everybody started live streaming, and I got a rush of exactly what you just said there, which was yes, the venues are shut, but we can't just do nothing. So I decided, we're going to do it.
I enjoyed your live stream. I wish
you.
I'd do it again, please.
Thank you. I did. I only did a couple. I did because, and I enjoyed like setting up a little like set in my living room and deciding what songs we were going to sing. And as I say, we both, Kirsty, my fiance, had her phone set up next to mine so we could stream on different things, and that was really fun. And she would be checking all the comments and going back to that thing we were talking about of the transferring of energy. Here I'm playing as if I'm playing into a room of people. I know I was sitting down, but I'm still playing and I'm getting nothing back. I'm getting Kirsty telling me, people are enjoying it. But that emptiness that I was feeling really got me down.
I was speaking to a pastor recently, and that's the churches.
Yes, absolutely. Trying to give a sermon when you can, of course.
Like, what can I? There's no. But I suppose we've just got to almost learn a new language. I mean, we're saying live streaming. We've got to understand how we comment and create little
interactions.
I'm struggling with this, and they'll say no. That we're putting the podcast out there, and I know people are listening to it, but I'm like. Give me a response, Something. So if anyone's listening to this, respond. Just put it, even affirmation or tell us it's crap, It doesn't. There's
something.
There has to be. We're all in this new world. We've got to find ways of. It's like we're in prison, but in prison you can communicate in 1,000 ways.
Sure.
You can still send those notes and do what you need to. So I think
Write stuff on the wall.
Write stuff on the wall. We've got to just create a new language that allows us to create and create. You know, like I say, live stream, still put out this music, because the music may not be for you, but it may be for somebody else.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
someone that's what, like when I was listening to you, it was because I hadn't seen anyone for that long.
Yeah,
and
sure.
And suddenly Facebook's telling me, "Oh, Chris is having a live, you know, show." I was like, "Oh, okay,
Yeah.
I'll listen to this." You know, so I think we've got to understand our privilege in that space as well.
Of
as
course,
musicians,
yeah.
or a place to be there for those other people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
It's a
put
very
it
good
out,
point.
you know.
I think I got wrapped up in quite. I guess looking back, it was maybe actually quite selfish, where I got wrapped up in, because I'm not getting anything from this, therefore I don't want to do it. Not considering for a moment that, like you say, there may be people.
I just say musicians and artists and painters and whoever. This is when the world needs us. You know,
Yeah.
this is a time when and I say us as if I'm not a musician. I make noise, but I mean just this communication, these spaces of creativity,
Yeah.
delight. Even I was sharing. I've been watching bizarre things like people sculpting. You know, and just watching them form something.
Yeah.
Was really. I think it's going to be really vital for our mental health.
Yeah.
To be able to give these sort of gifts back to the community, and maybe it's a much bigger audience then. You know,
Yeah.
Than maybe that. I don't know.
No, you're right. My problem is, how do I know that without that feedback?
So so what we've got to learn is that
Yeah.
once you put it out there, that then the person who's been fed well, has drunk well, has to find a way of communicating an affirmation.
Yes.
You know, and I think that's a responsibility space that all listeners now will have.
Yeah.
Because we've created a sort of everything, you know, always everywhere sort of space in our phones. You know,
Yeah.
we can pretty much collect everything and bring it to us.
Yeah,
you know?
definitely.
I mean, Greg's delivering sausage rolls. I
Yeah,
mean, come
yeah,
on,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
we reach a particular point in civilization, haven't we?
When that's the
You know,
norm.
that's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
norm,
yeah.
So that's fine if that's where we're headed, but that still does mean that we've got to create an affirmation point of somebody else and say, well, that person's put that.
Yeah,
out there.
it's a
Or
two-sided thing.
it
It's
has
on
to,
both.
and-
It's on both sides. Yeah,
and
no,
we've got to learn. You know, the busker. Eventually, we learned we had to put coins in there.
yeah.
You know, but the first few buskers maybe never had that.
Never. Yeah. You didn't realize
You know?
that's what you had to do. Yeah,
They
yeah.
do, and eventually there's maybe this sort of change in culture that we have to learn. Yeah.
That was actually where I first really learnt how to perform with my voice. Was I used to busk when I was younger, a lot younger. This is before the days that every busker had an amplifier and a microphone.
Yeah.
I don't get the only people that had those were if you were busking in Glasgow or Edinburgh, where you physically had to have it
noise, yeah.
because you wouldn't be heard.
Yeah.
Perth High Street was small enough that you didn't, in my opinion, need to do that, and I still don't think so. But that's a whole other conversation. I'm then showing my age. But for me, it was, I want the people down there to be able to hear me. Now I can't shout because that won't sound good. I can't sing like loud song. Every song can't be a loud song because then my voice will just go. So what do? Well, I have to, and luckily it was at the same time I started busking, I was learning the trombone.
Performance. You're also in theatre. That's right.
Yes, exactly. I was in theatre and I was learning a brass instrument, and all of these things I was getting taught how to project my voice. I was getting taught in theatre, and I was getting taught how to control my diaphragm in brass, in learning the trombone, and all of these things just came together that just enabled me to be able to sing loud and clear without completely destroying my voice. And as soon as we started doing that, a confidence kind of came upon me. And that wasn't there before. And you do lose a little bit of that if you just have an amp and a microphone, because you don't want to sing loud, because that's the job of the microphone, is to do that for you. But then you can have people that, and I'm not putting down people that busk with amps and mics, because at the end of the day they're still a creative, they're still an artist, and they're still performing, they're still doing, it's an exchange of something happening. Just like you were saying with live streaming, they're putting something out there, people are enjoying it and putting money in. But maybe that's just me kind of looking back on an era, a different time, thinking in some weird way that it's better, but it's not better, it's just different.
It's different, and maybe I suppose what we're doing is lamenting the loss of a certain practice.
Yeah.
You know, my wife and I were in Israel a few years ago, and we ended up in this church, and just some other tourists started singing in one, and obviously this space had been acoustically designed for that particular voice, and this voice traveled, you know, and it was completely unamplified in
sure.
thing, but I was like, we forget those spaces. Like even in Perth High Street, I know there's points where you'd stand because that's your echo, because the two high walls and stuff, and to use this. I was in Covent Garden a few years ago, and you could see how the guys had set up the street performance to get the reverb and the.
Do you mean when they're sitting when you're inside? Because when I've been to Covent Garden, there's maybe like a string quartet or even just a guy singing, doing opera or something,
low
and they sit low, and then when they sing out, it just reverberates. It sounds fantastic in there.
And
it really does.
Understanding those sort of spaces, like pick up the corner and saying, okay, this is where I can.
But you don't understand that if you are singing into a microphone and you have a little amp that just kind of
throws it out
pitifully.
Or you think it's only your song voice that's important, actually, whereas sometimes it's actually the settings important, you know.
Yeah.
So
I think to sing a lot of these songs with justice, you do, there is gravitas. Did you ever see, like, I don't know, you ever seen Freddie Mercury sing "Don't Stop Me Now" quietly? No, of course not. Like, or "The Show Must Go On." No, you need to push that, the air physically to get that to travel. So it's a kind of dichotomy. There's different sides to it.
How did you deal with COVID? How did you deal with this lockdown?
Good and bad. Probably like most people. I think that's quite a generic answer, just to say good and bad. But I'm quite lucky that I have. I never thought I'd say this. I'm quite lucky that I have a day job, working in an office, and that's paid the bills, and that continues to pay the bills, and I've been very lucky to continue to do that. And I know quite a lot of musicians that did take that plunge and going full time a few years ago that aren't as lucky. But creatively, my plan when I wrote and released my last EP in February, my plan was release the EP, and up until that point, that last year, I'd been playing only with a trio, just 3 musicians. And my plan was to then bring a 4th member, a keys player, which really kind of broadens the sound out. And my plan was to then do a whole string of gigs over the summer. I actually had it confirmed. I'd got a really good Saturday night support slot booked at King Tut's.
Okay, wow.
In the summer, during this this week-long festival that they do, called the Summer Night Sessions, and that was going to be a huge opportunity, to get in front of people. And so I had this whole plan. So you play with the 4-piece and do a whole summer of that, and then off the back of that, record more. And because I'm a horn player, a lot of, as you have heard, a lot of my stuff does have horns on it, and the last EP is very horn heavy. But when you then go and play with just 3 of you, it doesn't translate. So my plan had always been to just slowly each year build up the band until eventually, if my name was well known enough, I could justify bringing on horn players as well. So when you come and see me, it's a whole thing. And all of that planning got completely gone in one fell swoop. None of that was going to happen. The momentum that I just started to build off of releasing the EP, gone, because no one's talking about that. Everybody's talking about COVID and the lockdown. Everybody starts live streaming, because there's, like we were saying earlier, there's always people. The internet is a beautifully awful thing, because it exposes you to it's more things like Facebook and algorithmic applications that feed off of what you put into it. All it does is funnel that and compounds that into something. So it's giving you this viewpoint on the world that isn't as varied and as diverse as it should be. And what happens, and this is what happened to me, is that on my things like my Instagram, all I'm seeing is musicians, both successful and unsuccessful, all of them live streaming and all of them doing it really well. And those couple of live streams that I tried, and so a combination of that and the not getting the energy that we were talking about really put me down. As well as you'll be aware, I was supposed to be getting married in September. In August, I can't believe I just said September.
You were going to be the first blend wedding as a venue, as a reception.
I just want to really quickly say, I said September there. I'm really sorry. It was actually meant to be August. I'm just going to scratch that now. It should have been August. But we were going to get married at the Hermitage in Dunkeld and have the reception here in Blend, because I've spent good part of my life with Blend being in it.
It's been lovely watching your courtship, actually.
We had our first date here. I used to live my first flat in town. I lived above the butcher's next door, so I was always coming in here. I was one of those annoying people playing the piano all the time, and so it was going to be it was perfect. It was just perfect because it was a really small wedding, and that was so. I'm trying to juggle creatively and artistically. Things aren't looking up. I'm now finding out I'm not going to be getting married, and it's just kind of blow after blow after blow. I do count myself lucky because, like I say, I had a day job. The bills were getting paid, but it was a loss of income. There was a definite loss of income that I had been used to.
And loss of like mojo even.
And then conversely a loss of mojo. And luckily we've kind of rescheduled for next May, and we've said that whatever happens, we're just gonna get married. Like, it doesn't matter. Like if it just has to be the two, whatever. We're not gonna go through this again.
We'll leave you the keys to Blend.
Just turn it, make a coffee, do it. Congratulations. But so having all of these, because I think that people talk about. Where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? Where do you see yourself in 10 years' time? And these plans,
isn't it? Everything you planned 5 years ago would have failed because COVID happened.
Correct. I think that people far more realistically plan things no more than 6 to 12 months in advance. Most things, most kind of short-term goals, people have an idea, a figment of what they would like in anything over 12 months, but there is no way to tell. And I think COVID is a perfect example of nature showing us that it doesn't matter what you plan, it can always change.
It does always change.
It does always change, and it's how you react to that. So because of me realising that, I've actually taken a comfort in that, in thinking that, you know what, there are bigger things at play here than me. Now, whether you look at that on a spiritual level or not, maybe, but simply the solace knowing that somebody said something recently, and I'm gonna try and not mess it up. They said, "You're the conclusion of your own decisions and circumstances," and because. But that's only true up to a point, because you are, and that is true.
You can still change.
That's such a good little kind of little sentence that you would see somebody put as a quote on a wall somewhere.
Tattoo, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's something that is so powerful in such a small sentence, can also be so wrong. And that you're not the conclusion of your own decisions and circumstances, because those circumstances can change in a dime. And just thinking about that and actually starting to kind of come to terms with that really gave me, actually I felt comforted by that, by knowing that, and I think a lot of people go through that in life at different points in their life. Some people don't get it till they're in the retirement age, but to know that I am just part of a much bigger thing, and my decisions and my circumstances actually don't. It's quite nihilistic, actually, like, to say that nothing matters. But of course,
it does matter. But yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
We
we understand our own fallibility in it all. And yeah, and I think I mean it's come across by what you were talking about that actually one of the themes we've been doing is about altruism. You know, making it not about yourself.
Yes,
you know?
so important.
And I think COVID has taught us a good lesson in that. That we are fallible and fragile beings.
Yeah.
You know, and that's okay.
Yeah. Yes.
And that's why we need each other, and that's why we need to create. We need to invest more into those spaces rather than try to go back to a normality that was never good for us in the first place.
No, I completely agree. And leading on from you, what we mentioned about social media, I really don't like the idea that things could continue like that, where everything is so on demand and so instant, and that people feel what's the word? They feel entitled. They feel entitled to the stuff, and when they see actually behind the curtain everything that goes into those things, and a lot of that area is kind of under fire right now because of COVID. I do hope it's going to give people, like you were saying about the live streaming, giving people like learning a new language of how to interact with that. I really hope that people will gain more of an appreciation of just how much goes into everything from the TV show that you watch to just like an independent artist that you see live streaming online, or see the local business that wants to do a podcast. You know, all of those things that go into that. I really do hope that there's going to be a better understanding. I mean, for me, things are looking. I've gotten into a rhythm with COVID now, which some people got very quickly, and again, I was envious of that. I've got a little back garden, so I got into gardening. Both Kirsty, my fiance, and I, we both started wanting to lose weight, which in that kind of peak of lockdown for me, when things were still uncertain, where we might get gigs soon, we might get out, whereas now we know it's not going to happen for a while, and it's
which is fine.
Knowing that is better,
absolutely.
Because now I'm like, okay, I know that, because there's that little bit of certainty. It's not the certainty I thought I wanted, but actually I'm converting that into, like you say, getting out and gardening and losing weight and taking better care.
Channeling yourself into different spaces.
Exactly, and taking better care of myself mentally and physically. That rhythm I'm finding a lot better, and it's actually helping my creativity as well. Yeah. Because I'm finding
a rhythm. Are you writing again?
I'm writing. I'm not writing songs. Okay. I'm actually, my plan is to pivot more towards composing. Nice. And I'm not saying I certainly won't gig again, because I do love gigging, and that energy thing that we were talking about is the reason I do it. Mm-hmm. But I think that I've had the realization that the singer-songwriter performer thing isn't for me. Mm-hmm. Maybe not the performing thing. Mm-hmm. I do like performing, but it's my face on the tin. I don't know what tin this is. I don't know what I'm selling here.
Write the theme tune.
Sing the theme tune. Write the theme tune. I don't know what it is, but this whole it's my face. It's about me, and I'm posting to tell you about the thing I'm doing, and I'm keeping up to date on that, and I'm writing this song about this, and this is. Feels unhealthy. Yeah, and some people are really good at that. I don't think that's for me, but I still have a passion for writing music, and I still have a passion for performing. So I think whatever next year looks like, I'm really looking forward to playing with other musicians, and for me to actually kind of go back to where I was before, which is just being a part of a band. Yeah. I think I've learned by doing it, by going out there and people coming to see, it's my name on the poster. Yeah. I've realised by doing it that that's not for me, and that I'm okay with that. Yeah. and that I would love to be a part of a group or a band and contribute musically and creatively, but know that when the gig is finished, I can just go home. I just turn up to the rehearsal and I do a good job and we learn the songs and we all create something together, but that pressure isn't on me. And I think I work a lot better like that, and it gives me more time to then to write, and that's why I've always thought about being a composer, and recently I've found a real love for it. The idea of composing for something like a short film, or composing for TV or something like that. I've got
a jingle for a podcast.
A jingle for a podcast, absolutely. I've done some YouTube. I've done some YouTubers. Okay. I've done a Twitch streamer. Right. This Twitch streamer came to me and said, "I'm really into Russian ska. Can you do?" I'm looking at the email, going, reading the email, going, "What?" But like, few and far between. That's what the client wants.
Yemeni house music.
Yeah, I know. Like, oh, geez, what am I gonna? But it's all learning.
Cool.
So yeah, I'm getting a real buzz right now, and this is a good thing. Composing, you. It's not about. You don't need venues. You don't need. It's something that can be done.
People can then interpret it.
Yes,
you know? So
yes, it's something that is. It's not reliant upon having loads of people in a space and all these kind of other restrictions that we're under right now. I can write something, an instrumental thing. It doesn't need to be orchestral, but I'm loving, because I used to play in orchestras, I guess, I'm loving writing for orchestra right now. The idea that you say that I can write something and I can put it out, and it's not about the words I'm singing. Because that was another thing that I didn't like about songwriting, was that I kept feeling, and every song I was listening to was just about a guy that was upset with a girl or loved a girl, or it was a girl that was upset with a guy or loved. That was all every song I felt was about. It was very few and far between that. I had to listen to very specific artists if I wanted to find something that wasn't that. And I found myself falling into a trap of halfway through writing a song going, this is just another song about this. So if I can write an instrumental piece of music that in my head I'm saying it's about this, this and this, and I can maybe hint at that with the title of the piece, but as soon as somebody listens to that, just in the same way that they listen to people telling stories and maybe like this podcast, they take completely their own unique experience from that, and that just fills me with so much excitement that I can do that. You know, that I can be the instigator of that person's experience, and that it's not reliant on my face in the spotlight and do you know what I mean?
No.
It really that excites me more than anything, and so that is confirmation for me. If I'm getting this excited by this, it's where I should be channeling my energy.
Brave, and it's good, and
it's daunting. It's daunting, and but yeah, that's what I think I'm going to be pursuing more now is the composing.
Chris, I could carry on talking, but
Me too.
I'm passionate about music, but I know people have got to reach work and they're in their cars right now, or they finished their 7 mile run. They've hit 11 miles right now. I'll put. You've got a website or links?
Yeah, so I do have a website, chris-small.co.uk.
I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, I'm actually right now this week I'm like rejigging it to be more about the composing thing. But if you go to my website, you can listen to my music there. I'm on social media, Chris Small Music. Okay. Instagram is probably my main one that I'm on. So I've been releasing some videos called the Patio Sessions that I did about a couple of months ago. I think we just got the call to say there's definitely no more gigs happening for a while. So I said I want to do something. So I cleaned up my patio. Sorry, Kirsty and I cleaned up the patio. I would never hear the end of it. If I take all the credit for that. We cleaned up the patio. I got the band round and we recorded just acoustic, just 2 or 3 songs, and filmed it, and I've been putting them out every week. And it's been great putting out something into the world.
Remember, listener, affirmation, you know.
Yeah.
The
You're
artist
right.
needs it.
You're
so
right.
Let's just take that, have a listen, and then just give feedback. Good, bad, doesn't matter. We thrive on that. So
that's kind of what I'm putting out at the moment.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Chris. Really, really appreciate
Thank you,
this time
Sandeep.
and taking this time.
It's lovely speaking to you. We do that sometimes when it's really busy in here. There's been times it's like on
Yeah, I've just
it's like 5 o'clock on a Friday. It's really busy, and we're just chin wagging up at the bar. So
well, it's what needed. We'll close out with another one of your songs, and
Yeah, sure.
Do you want to? Do you know what it is? Or
yeah, I think we'll play Roses, which is it's one of my oldest songs. I wrote it for Kirsty.
Okay.
It specifically focuses on dealing when you're in a relationship and somebody's dealing with their mental health, things like anxiety and stuff, and that's not something that you're used to having to deal with. How does that work when you're in a new relationship? This was written very early on, where it was very new to me, and that journey together. So
great.
when you don't figure out a way of how you can help, because there's times where you can't, I thought if I write a song for her and she can listen to this song, and it's me, it's my voice, it's my words, and I recorded that on my first EP, and I re-recorded a new version of it for this EP. So that's the version.
A lullaby to Kirsty.
Basically, yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah.
Beautiful.
I know. I get a lot of points. I get a lot of points when I mention that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool idea. No. Well, Chris, thank you for that.
Thank you very much, Sandeep. It's been an absolute
to you
pleasure. Thank you.
Help me to help you. Show me what to do. I'll help you any way I can. Hold you close, I'll make a plan. Never stop believing in yourself. Don't ever stop believing in yourself. 'Cause the sun is always shining when you smile. Let's stop and smell the roses for a while. Your head held high, then you broke your wings and fly. It's okay to cry every now and then. Take a breath and count to 10. Never stop believing in yourself. Don't ever stop believing in yourself. 'Cause the sun is always shining when you smile. Let's stop and smell the roses for a while. Just show me what to do. I'll help you any way I can. Hold you close, I'll make a plan. Never stop believing in yourself. Don't ever stop believing in yourself. Don't
Cheerio.